I'm Nate Lindstrom, VP of Solutions Engineering for NS1. We're an intelligent DNS and traffic management company. And with me tonight is Bill Zajac of Teridion. And they accelerate the internet significantly. They're actually a customer of ours as well as we have a lot of mutual customers. And just because somebody asked me about it earlier, no, we don't compete with OpenDNS. We're actually complementary. OpenDNS is a caching DNS service, whereas NS1 is an authoritative DNS service. So we very much play together in the same ecosystem. So tonight's topic, as well as the next week's topic, is how the internet really works. And I'm going to warn you guys, I'm going to go so far out of the fucking weeds, we will not even be able to see the clubhouse. But don't worry, it will make sense. We'll tie it all together. And tonight, I used the OSI model very briefly, just so everybody has some idea where we're going. Tonight we're just talking about layers 1, 2, and 3. And coming up there as I talk about it, layers 4 and above we'll talk about next week. Layer 8, as everybody knows, is the politics layer. This is where most of the data loss occurs in the OSI model. Alright. So in mathematics and geography, this is a line segment. In network diagrams, this is a network segment. And in the olden days of the internet, or really in networking, because I'm going to kind of start with just networking in general before we get to the internet. One way of connecting together computers was with coax cable. I don't know if any of you have ever had the misfortune of having to work on one of those, or if you're young enough that you missed that whole thing, which is great. But literally, one way of cabling together computers was every computer had a network card, and you ran a coaxial cable with a string like this. They had to have terminators at each end, and then you had these stupid T connectors. And the extent of this network was the line distance that were allowed, which was like 100 or 150 feet. Beyond that, that was the end of the network. That was as far as you could go. And God forbid somebody took one of these off or unplugged their computer from it, because it would break the whole connection. And so the inherent limitation of these sort of things was you could only have so many computers strung together in a line. There were other technologies that companies like IBM, for example, came out with a brilliant thing called token ring, which was actually a loop. It actually had to be a loop, and this gave rise to the way it worked actually was the computers passed this virtual token among themselves, and the computer with the token could transmit, all the rest had to wait, which gave rise to the Dilbert cartoon, where somebody said the reason the network went down was because somebody had severed it and the token had fallen out and gotten lost under a desk. And the problem with this also was, as you added computers to it, it got slower and slower. And so the technology that kind of won, and is the basis for where I'm starting with this, was Ethernet. So, I warned you, we're going to go out the weeds. Here we go. So, we have a computer. Computers have a network card. And in this network card, for Ethernet, is something called an MDI, Medium Dependent Interface. Now, once I explain what the hell it is, it'll be like, oh yeah, what are those? Everybody's seen that. But I'm calling it by its correct name, which is an MDI. And what plugs into an MDI is, let's see if I can find this correctly. Something called an 8P8C connector, also known as an RJ45 connector. RJ45S to be specific. And on the computer end of this, the MPI has 8 connectors. The plug has 8 connectors. And then on the switch or the hub side, I'm going to call it a hub for a bit while I get around to why and sort of the dancing with this. On the hub side is the other end of this cable. It's something called an MPI-X. The X indicates crossover. Here's what's going on. So, these are all pins. This is pins 1 through pins 8. Same over here, pins 1 through pins 8. So, pin 1 connects usually via a dash cable, usually in green and white, to the one over here. 2 is solid. 3 is another stripe cable. 4 and 5 are not used, and 6 is a solid. And this is going back to the origins of all this stuff in telco business. The dash, or this is a pair, and this is a pair. And you'll see 4 and 5 are ignored, 7 and 8 are ignored. We're talking now about the actual wires in the cable. And this is on the PC side, this is the sending side. And this is the receiving side. The X over here indicates that on the switch or the hub, it flips them around, which means that on the switch side, this becomes the receiving side and this becomes the sending side. And these are actual electrical circuits. So actual electrons are being looped through the sending side. And in fact, the dash one here is actually the positive side of the circuit. This is also known as the tip. And this one is the negative side of the circuit, also known as the ring. The reason these are called tip and ring goes back to telco days, where in order to make a telephone actually ring, they would boost the voltage on the ring line, which would be strong enough to actually cause the mechanical ring or the phone to make a sound. And the tip line would get connected to the ring line when somebody took it off the hook, in other words, when they tipped the phone. As an anecdote, I made a mistake one time of actually having this wire in my mouth when a phone call came in. I was wiring something, and the voltage went from whatever it is, like 20 volts to 90 or something, and yeah. That taught me to strip wires in my teeth. And so you don't see the tip and ring thing much anymore, but unless you're diving deep into wiring diagrams, but that's actually sort of the origin of where that name comes from. And so this, like the overarching point of this, is that this is an electrical circuit. And to send data on an electrical circuit, you kind of have two choices, right? You can do it via analog, or you can do it via digital. Now the old telephones work on the analog principle, which is basically you moderated something in a waveform, namely your voice moderated something on the wire. Digital is more about, are electrons going by or are they not? If electrons are going past, it's a 1. If electrons are stopped, it's a 0. So you're able to transmit 1s and 0s on this wire by cutting off or starting the flow of electricity in this circuit. Does all that make sense so far? Right. We're talking about the internet, and we're so far from the internet right now, it's not even funny, but we'll get there. The reason this is relevant, though, is absolutely everything around you is plugged in using this, including the wireless devices that are on the ceiling somewhere that your mobile devices are talking to ultimately have an Ethernet connection running somewhere. And this is going on between the wireless base station and the switch or whatever is in the back closet. And the signaling that's going on here between a computer and a hub is very similar to if I went over to a light switch and I started flipping it on and off, and you were interpreting the light periods and the dark periods, the light periods being 1s and the dark periods being 0s. So that works pretty good, and the whole idea behind, say, bandwidth, for example, is that the faster I can flip that switch on and off, the more data I can transmit. The faster I can make the light bulb pulse on and off, the more data I can transmit. Now, imagine that Bill and I are trying to use this method of communicating with him. We're going to be flipping the light switch on and off. I have one light switch that controls one bulb. He has another light switch that happens to control the same bulb. We both start flipping it trying to encode something. What's going to come out of the light bulb? Complete gibberish, right? Because my string of 1s and 0s is going to step on his string of 1s and 0s, and you're not going to be able to interpret either one of them. And this is exactly what happens in most of these scenarios as soon as you hook a second computer up to a network setting. As long as you have one hooked up, it's great. It can talk all day. Of course, it's kind of useless having one. But as soon as you get two hooked up, they're both going to be sending and receiving on the circuit. And there's a possibility that the two of them are going to send and receive at the same time. So we are now moving really from layer 1. Oh, it's the F. No. CSNA-CD is layer 2, right? Okay. I'm losing my mind. So we're moving away now from layer 1, which is RJ45. Diagrams and pinouts and how the electrons are actually moving on the wire. Now we're getting into, all right, what are we going to do about the fact that we're going to have 2 things, 3 things, 4 things, 10 things talking at once? All right, so there have been various attempts at solving this with various problems, but the standard that has kind of been settled on, which is certainly in use on everything around us right now, is something called CSMA CD. So now for the first time, we are legitimately talking about software. What we were talking about before was truly hardware. Now we're actually talking about software. What this stands for is carrier sense multiple access / collision detection. So here's the idea. When nothing is transmitting, there's a carrier present on the wire. Basically meaning that everything is quiet, and all these computers are able to sense the carrier on the wire and understand that everything is quiet. And when, let's say, A starts talking, it drops the carrier, it interrupts the carrier, which informs all the other computers that somebody's about to speak. And then it starts transmitting. And the other computers listen until it's done, and then they can resume doing whatever they're doing. Now that works great up until the point where both, say, A and B start trying to transmit at the exact same instant in time, the same microsecond. They both would listen for a carrier, hear the carrier, drop the carrier, start talking. Now, once again, there's gibberish on the wire. This is where the collision detection part comes in. C gets this stream of garbage coming down the wire. And it says, hang on, there's been a collision, everybody stop. And the idea then is that both of these computers stop transmitting and they start the timer running for a random interval. And the reason it's random is the hope that one of these two timers expires first, and it then repeats the process of listening for a carrier, assuming it hears it, it drops and starts transmitting. Now, I've seen this go wrong with a certain company whose name I now don't remember. I bought this batch of super cheap network cards from this company in China that was selling these knockoffs, and one of the things they had done, took me forever to figure it out, that to save money was they just implemented a static timer instead of a random timer. And so all the cards had the same back-off interval. And so I had a bunch of them all plugged in, and I would just get these ridiculous storms on the network, and nothing would work because they would all back off with the same exact interval. It's similar to another brand I got once, they all have the same MAC addresses, but we'll get to that. So, we're sort of coming to an extent of my knowledge of sep27. Anything, like, does this make sense?
Devices that are common.
What's that?
Devices that are common.
Yeah.
Is it device C that notices that they're both talking and replies, or is it A and B that are also listening when they transmit?
No, it's in theory A and B are not listening. It's usually C, if I remember correctly. They would see the string of interpolated gibberish.
What if it's just A and B on the network?
What's that?
What if it's just A and B on the network, and they're talking to each other?
Well, we're gonna come to how that can be made to work in a second. Because this gets to hubs versus switches. We're trying to think if there's anything else that I need to add here before I go on to hubs and switches. All right. Well, so actually, the good segue is as you add devices to this network segment, as you have more and more and more, the possibility or the likelihood that two transmit at the same time goes up. Like it's actually a mathematically factorable equation. Where as you add more devices to the same network segment, the likelihood of this goes up. Which means at some point you reach a tipping point where more devices are spending time waiting than they are transmitting. And so your network performance, your network throughput actually drops. It's this function of as you add more nodes, you add an additional computer, network performance drops. Because things are spending more and more time waiting. And the reason for this is that so far I've been pretending that this is all plugged into a hub. Now, it used to be that when I first was giving this talk, I don't know how many years ago, I would talk about hubs and switches, everybody knew what I meant, because everybody usually at home had a hub, because switches were so expensive. Now everybody has switches, and occasionally I'll do this, and people are like, what are hubs? So, they basically look the same way, right? So it's a thing with a bunch of ports, MDIX ports to be specific. And they used to be called port repeaters, because the whole idea was that when you plug the computer into one port, whatever it transmitted into that port, the hub would blindly repeat on every other port. So it was great. You didn't have to like daisy chain computers with a coax cable, which was horrible, because you had to have two connections essentially running to every computer, and God forbid someone unplug it, because it would just sever the network. But instead, you could just plug everybody in this way. And if A transmits, B gets a copy of it, C gets a copy of it. Now, this doesn't solve the earlier problem, which is if A and B are transmitting, the hub is going to be trying to repeat it, seeing C's and beginning gibberish. And so the difference between a hub and a switch is that a switch uses something which we're going to come to in a few minutes to figure out that the first time A ever transmits, it's going to act like a hub, and it's going to actually take whatever A says and it's going to repeat it to every port. And then when C responds, the switch learns, A was talking to C. So now next time A sends a follow-up packet, the switch now knows where to direct it. And A sends that packet, or that piece of data, that is a frame, yes? Frame. Yep. It sends that frame just to C. Which brings us to the question, how is the switch able to differentiate between A, B, and C? Like I may have labeled them that way on the whiteboard, but if you think about it, you plug a bunch of stuff into a switch. Pretty quickly, the switch learns who's talking to who. It starts to limit how much broadcasting it's doing. Well, what is it going off of? Yes. It is going off of something called a MAC address. Now, a MAC address is properly written in all uppercase MAC because it stands for Media Access Control address. I see people refer to Mac computers all uppercase. It just bugs the hell out of me. It's like, no, Mac, that's a Mac computer. This is a Media Access Control, two different things. All right, that's just my own personal pet peeve. People like, you want a PC or a Media Access Control? What? All right. So, when you get a network card and you stick it in a computer, or you have your iPhone, or you have your iPad, or you have a laptop, whatever it is, it has a hardware address or a MAC address assigned to it. This is a 40-bit address, typically written in the form of in hex, separated by colons, maybe separated by hyphens, sometimes separated by spaces, but it's a 48-bit address. And you don't set it. It comes from the manufacturer already set. And these are assigned in blocks. And you can actually go on the internet and Google like MAC address lookup or Ethernet address lookup, and you can key your MAC address in, and it'll tell you who the manufacturer is that assigned it to your device. Like if you look it up for an Apple laptop, it'll say it's Apple. If you look it up for a 3Com card, it'll say 3Com. It's because, I don't know who the governing body is. Do you know who the governing body is? Yeah, I don't remember who it is. They assign the MAC addresses out in blocks to manufacturers, and manufacturers then put MAC addresses on the network cards when they're shipped out. So you don't have to worry about that. And so what happens is when A transmits, it is transmitting a frame that, among other things, says from some MAC address to some MAC address, and then it contains a bunch of data. So we're still down here in layer 2. So layer 1, we're literally talking about electrons on the wire. Now in layer 2, we're talking about frames, which is a software construct of electrons on the wire. And so the switch is able to learn, oh, C is plugged in over here with this MAC address. So now in the future, when anybody addresses or sends a packet addressed to C's MAC address, I just put it on this port. I don't have to do any of the other ports. And that makes the extendability of the network significant, because once that kind of discovery has happened, you can have a whole lot more devices plugged in and they're not going to step on each other. And you can start daisy chaining switches together. However, like with anything, it has an upper limit. You can only go so far. Otherwise, you end up with things called broadcast storms, among other things, which is where the switch doesn't know where anybody is, it's just going to start repeating it everywhere, and you get massive broadcasts that will completely kill throughput on the switch, or on these switches. And there's another big drawback to this, which is if you've got daisy chain switches, you'll notice we're kind of back to the problem of that first model I drew with coax, which is if you break one of these links, you split the network in half. So you say, well, hey, there's a solution to this. All right, let's say this link is kind of suspect. So maybe what we're going to do, let me add some more ports here. Maybe what we're going to do for redundancy's sake is we'll actually run a separate connection that goes out and around the building and comes back in. Well, now you've created the loop. The problem with loops in Ethernet here is that if the switch is operating on the assumption that A is transmitting for the first time and it doesn't know where the recipient is, it's going to put it out on all the ports, and it's going to get it back on one of its ports, and it's going to be like, hey, I just got this packet, let me put it out on all the ports again. Hey, I just got this packet, let me put it out on all the ports again. That spirals out of control real fast. So you cannot have loops, and there's all kinds of protocols that I'm not going to go into because I'm not going to go out that far in the weeds. Things like spanning tree protocols and other things to try to keep this under control, VLANs, all this kind of stuff. So when you hear people, I will say this, when you hear people talking about STP or spanning tree protocol, or VLANs or VLAN tagging, usually it is a way, or Cisco has something called port fast. These are all ways to avoid this, or to detect this and prevent it from taking the network down. I'm not going to go into how they work, but that's what they are. They're safeguards against loops. I worked at Salesforce a few years back, and one day we were having a network outage where basically nothing on my floor worked. There was no connectivity at all. And so a coworker of mine and I decided we were going to go into one of the conference rooms and just start watching movies on our laptops. We had movies already on the laptops, so we didn't need the internet. We were going to project it on the big screen. We were just going to fuck off until the internet came back. And we go into the conference room, and the conference room is one of these things on the table where there's 4, RJ45 ports in the middle of the conference table, and somebody had taken a bright orange cable and plugged it in one, and plugged it into the next port next to it. The significance of this is why I said a bright orange cable on purpose. Earlier when I was drawing the pinouts where I was saying receive and the switch is intelligent enough to figure out that the sending pair on this end is the receiving pair, you can actually manually do that in the cable where you wire the receiving end into the sending end and the sending end into the receiving end. That actually lets you take a cable and plug it into 2 computers and they can then just talk back and forth. It's called a crossover cable. They're typically bright orange. So some idiot had plugged a crossover cable into the conference room thing, thereby creating a loop in the switch, and that was enough to knock out the network. Why? I don't know. They must have had port safe or port guard or whatever it's called turned off for some reason. And so the fact that you can't do redundancy in Ethernet like this poses a real problem. And the fact that you have to then rely on single links and everything's this huge segment poses a real problem when you consider that if the Russians launched the nuclear strike against the US and one of their nukes managed to blow up this link, then the missile commander who's sitting over here with the launch controls is going to be unable to launch all of the retaliatory strikes from all the missiles that are plugged into Ethernet switches on this side of the country. And that was precisely the problem that the internet was created to solve. How do we allow a missile commander to maintain control of all the missile silos across the US, even though parts of the network are getting knocked out? How do we have redundant paths to all the missile silos? And this was called ARPANET. ARPA being Advanced Research Projects Agency. They still exist. They're the government entity that was tasked with, all right, we need a redundant, multi-path way of controlling missile launches. Sorry, I'm just like doing all the talking.
Back checking.
Yes, thank you. It has been a while since I've given this. I'm going to get rid of the frame here. I'm going to extend this. Okay. So it was realized that you cannot have this vast Ethernet network spanning the US. It's a single thread and has all the silos hung off of it. Like that just wouldn't work. Never mind, you can stick repeaters in there to boost the signal and everything else. It just doesn't work because if the line goes down in one place, it severs the network. So I think what you'll begin to realize with time as we look at protocols on the internet is each protocol that's like one successive layer higher is in some way a collection of patches to fix inherent problems with the previous layer. Like each layer sort of improves on the previous. And so Ethernet frames, and I left that up for a reason, Ethernet, which is what we're talking about, is layer 2, and now we move on to layer 3. This is where IP lives. So finally we're talking about TCP/IP. And it's funny it's written in that way because really IP is kind of the core protocol, and the TCP is one of many equivalent protocols that reside on top of IP, but this is the part of it we're going to talk about. So for those who don't know, TCP stands for Transmission Control Protocol. Transmission Control Protocol. IP is Internet Protocol. We're going to talk about Internet Protocol. TCP we will talk about next week. If I try to go into it tonight, it will come in like about an hour, and at that point all of you will be asleep, pizza or not. And I'll be saying, all right, now we're going to talk about TCP. You'll be like, oh God, please make him stop. So we're going to talk about IP. IP is yet another addressing scheme. So going back to our network segment here, if we have two computers hooked up to it, they inherently have MAC addresses or even hardware addresses for Ethernet port, but then they can also talk to each other on an IP address. And I'm going to draw it this way. So what I now have is two network segments. These are two different Ethernet segments that are not connected. They are joined only electrically through this path by B. B here happens to have two network cards. We'll come back to that in a second. But let's talk about A and B communicating. A and B can clearly communicate via just Ethernet frames because these both have MAC addresses, and this switch, we'll just say this is a switch. This switch certainly knows how to transmit that. This is also a switch that has been installed incorrectly. Somebody stood it on the side of the cabinet. And B and C can clearly talk, again, just using Ethernet. But if A wishes to talk to C, Ethernet is now not enough, because we haven't daisy-chained these switches together. And for all we know, this connection here theoretically is miles apart. So, what happens is, within the Ethernet frame, we encapsulate something called an IP datagram. An IP packet. This is a packet. It's a frame. It's an IP packet. I wish it would be precise. Right here. Packet. Okay, you've had lots of diagram. And so, we'll just say, for sake of completeness, well, I'm just going to draw this on one of them. A might have a MAC address of, let's say, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9A. And we'll give it an IP address of, let's say, 1.2.3.4. So literally, A now has two addresses. So does B, so does C. Let's say B over here on this interface has an IP address of 1.2.3.5. On this interface, it has an IP address of 8.1.1.1. And this machine is 8.1.1.2. I'm contriving it this way for a reason. All right. We're about to get to the whole point of tonight's talk. Bear with me. All right. So all these have MAC addresses. Great. That, however, does not solve the problem of A talking to C. Is everybody clear on why A can't talk to C over MAC addresses? Right? Because there's no actual connection between these two switches. All right. So A can talk to B. Why can A talk to B? Because they're in the same subnet. So again, another term coming in. So to explain subnets, I need to briefly diverge into a horrible discussion about binary. So this is the IP address. IP. This is written in what is called dotted quad notation. Oh my God, what the fuck are you talking about? All right, so here's the deal. Each of these sections is separated by a period. I hope everybody in the back can see that, right? So I wrote a typical IP address. It has 3 periods, it has 4 sections. And each of these things correspond to 8 bits. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 bits of information. And same with this one, same with this one, same with this one. And so we write it out in decimal, where it's actually a range of 0 through 255 between each of these periods, because it's much easier to write than saying, well, this person is my IP address of 1110.111.11, right? You get the point, right? This would take forever to write out. But in reality, that's what this is. This is a representation of a binary form of the address. You can also write this in hex. You sometimes see that. that has value, and I'll show you that in a second. But I'm not going to try to convert 1, 2, 3, 4 that's in binary. I don't think I can do it off the top of my head, honestly. Get out my iPhone and stand here for 10 minutes and do it. But the point is, this is that. But everybody has probably heard of the term network mask or a subnet mask or something like that. I'm going to write out the same network mask in 2 forms because I want this to be really clear. It took me a long time to actually do this. So let me, in fact, rewrite this. I need to sort of match it in terms of spacing. So 1 dot 1 dot 1 dot. Oh no, I'm going to do this 1. If I wrote this IP out in binary, there would be a bunch of 1s and 0s, and I wrote this subnet mask out in binary, I would notice something. I would have 8 1s for 255, because if 255 is the maximum value, and that's what I said. That's the maximum value because for 8 positions of binary, if you set them all to 1, it's 255 decimals. If you don't believe me, you can do the math afterwards. But that is 8 1s. So this 255 is also 8 1s. This 255 is also 8 1s. This 0 is 0 1s. In other words, actually 8 zeros. And if you take that and you mask the IP off, if you imagine that this is throwing a shadow upwards, then you will notice that the 1 is masked off by all of the 8 bits that are set as 1s. The 2 is masked off, the 3 is masked off, and the 4 is not. Basically what this is saying is that this portion of the address is known as the network address. And this portion of the address is the host address. What does that mean? It means that within a given network segment, which is just an arbitrary construct, it has nothing to do with electrical connections, it's an arbitrary construct. All machines that begin with 1, 2, 3, and have this same subnet mask are considered to be in the same subnet, and they can directly talk to each other. Which is why I gave this machine an IP 1, 2, 3, 5, because this has the same subnet mask. So they're in the same subnet, they can directly talk to each other, which means, I don't know what I'm going to cover this. Basically means that the translation of the IP address to a MAC address is able to happen because they're all on the same subnet. And that's a horrible, short explanation of how it works. I'm going to leave it at that though for the moment. And then the host address is the part that has to be unique. So A has a host address here of 4, B has a host address of 5. You sometimes see this written as /24. Or you might see this written as, say, some other one is what does that mean? Well, this is 8 bits, 16 bits, 24 bits. There's 24 bits that have been set to 1s, have been set to true. So 255.255.255.255.0 means 24 bits comprise the network mask. So /24 is shorthand for this. Here, 8 bits have been set to comprise the network mask, leaving 3 additional octets for the host address, which means 8 bits have been set to /8. How many do you think would be 6/16? 255 dot what? 255.0.0, right? Now, at some point you're going to run into it, if you haven't already, something called CIDR. This seems like the only logical place to briefly talk about it. CIDR stands for classless interdomain routing. All it means is you're breaking this on a boundary that isn't where the periods are. So if you're doing something like this, 255.252.0.0, you're doing CIDR. It just means that the string of 1s that you're writing are ending prior to the period. And why they gave it that acronym, I have no idea, but that's what that means. And so that's when you'll see weird subnet masks like /23, /9, stuff like that. That just means that that string of ones that's being written is ending shy of the dot. That's all that is. And it's a way of further dividing up a subnet, making it even smaller. Because the assumption is, or the assumption used to be that all the networks were either /8 to /16 or /24, and then as we ran out of IPs, people needed to take a /24 and break it in half, take those and break it in half. Well, you can do it all the way up to the maximum subnet is /32. /32 means just that machine and nothing else, because you masked off the entire address. Does that make sense?
Classless is class A versus B versus C, right? Class A is /8,
Right.
class B is.
Yeah. Yes.
Contributed. All right. See you guys.
All right. So we know A and B can talk because you took my word for it. They're in the same subnet, and so they can communicate. B and C can talk because it has a second network card, and that second network card also happens to be in the same subnet as C. And like I said, these are arbitrary logical divisions just for dividing up the internet. The question now becomes, how does A talk to C? Finally, we get to kind of the meat of the whole talk. People are yawning, so I'm going to wrap up. Lest I lose the whole point of it. So if you've got 3 computers, I'm doing away with the whole network segment thing now because no longer really matters. And these guys are in the same subnet. These guys are in the same subnet. For A to talk to C means that A needs to know, A needs to have 3 pieces of information. It needs to know the 2 address that it intends to talk to. We'll just shorthand this as C. It needs to know a gateway IP, which in this case we're going to shortcut it to B, and it needs to know the gateway MAC address. Because the communication that's going to happen between A and B is going to be essentially at the Ethernet layer. It has to happen at the Ethernet layer. And there might be things stacked on top, but it's still going to happen at the Ethernet layer, which means A needs to know B's MAC address. More importantly, A is not going to start out knowing this. A is going to start out knowing B is its default gateway. Why? Because the Linux administrator who set this up defined B as the default gateway. So that means that in the routing table for the TCP/IP stack that the kernel is running on here, there is a line that says default gateway equals this machine's IP. Actually, let's just give these IP because it's terrible talking about A and B. This is. All right. So the machine knows I want to talk to 2.2.2.2. My gateway is 1.1.1.2. And I need to know the MAC address of the gateway so that I can compose an Ethernet frame that gets here. Does all that make sense so far? So, but under protocols it lives roughly here. As someone pointed out to me earlier, there's a lot of protocols that don't exactly fit in a nice slot in the OSI model. Yes?
Good question. Why do you need the gateway MAC address if you already got the gateway's address?
Because the Ethernet switch, which is connecting me to my default gateway, does not understand IP. It understands Ethernet only.
Where's the switch located?
The switch is here. These are both plugged into the switch. And these are both plugged into a different switch. Roughly, my subnets sort of correspond to switches. So what is going to happen is, when I go to send that first packet to 2222, computer is going to look at the address 2222 and say, does this fit within my subnet? How does it know it's subnet? Well, it's been configured before. So it's going to look at its subnet and say, well, my subnet is, let's assume these are all /24s. I just explained /24s, hopefully you haven't forgotten yet. This means that it's going to look at it and it's going to say, is 2222 within my subnet, which is 111.0? No. So in the event that I need to send a packet and it's not in my subnet, I go and I consult my routing table. Now routing tables can contain three kinds of entries: host entries, network entries, and a single default entry. A host entry simply says there is a specific route for this one specific host. And so this computer is going to look at its table and say, do I have a host entry for 2222? Chances are it doesn't. It's very rare that I see host routes. No. It's then going to look at its table and say, do I have a network entry? What's a network entry? A network entry could be saying something like, for 2222.0/24, go talk to this gateway. It's specifically saying for this one network, which is a collection of hosts, you talk to this one particular gateway. I'm not going to, again, chances are I don't have a network entry. Which means I come to my third kind of entry, which is a default gateway. The very nature of a default gateway says you can only have one. You can only have one per interface. And in this case, I just abbreviated the GW. So the gateway is 1.1.2.24. So what happens is I now need to actually take my packet and I need to change the, so I have that diagram. I shouldn't have erased it actually. So I have an Ethernet frame. How am I going to draw this? You know what I'm going for here. This is tough to sort of draw. Here, I need the space back. I'm going to draw it vertically because it kind of works better. So I have an Ethernet frame. I am this computer. I'm putting together this transmission I'm about to send. So first, I have an Ethernet frame. It's from me. We'll just call this we're going to literally have 4-bit Ethernet. And this will be, I don't know, C. This will be, I don't know, and this will be A, B, C. All right. So here I've added MAC addresses or hardware addresses to this. So I'm putting together the Ethernet frame, which is the minimum thing I need to do here to talk on an Ethernet network, because this is operating layer 2. So literally this is going to be end up being a compilation of electrons I'm putting on the wire. But I'm going to start the Ethernet frame, and I'm going to say it's coming from me. I am AABB. So AABB. And it is to default gateway. Except I don't know the default gateway's Ethernet address. I only know the default gateway's IP address. So what do? This is where a protocol comes in called ARP, ARP, Address Resolution Protocol. And the way it works is, and it's part of the TCP/IP suite, because it is a way to get from an IP address to a MAC address, and from a MAC address to an IP address. So what happens is, this computer sends out a broadcast, meaning it is a packet addressed to a broadcast address, right? Yes, 255, 255, 255, 255. So there are certain IPs that have reserved meaning. One of those reserved meanings is if you send the packet to 255.255.255.
It's your subnet plus 255.
Oh, thank you. Right. So it would actually be addressed to 2.2.2.255. It is a broadcast to the whole subnet, which means all the computers get it on that subnet. And that is an ARP request saying, I'm 2.2.2.2.2, who has 1.1.1.2? And this computer gets it and says, oh, he's asking about me. And it responds with an ARP response, which is not broadcast, right? It's directed.
Directed. Yep.
Yeah, it's directed saying, I'm 1.1.1.2. thereby revealing its MAC address, because it's talking over Ethernet. And now, this computer in its ARC cache, and yes, there's an actual ARC cache, you can look at it by ARC-A, it now has an association of the IP address of the default gateway and its MAC address. And if you're on a Linux box, you can run sudo arc-a, and it will list the ARC address, or the ARC cache, which almost certainly will include your default gateway, because otherwise you haven't been talking to anything outside of your box. And now that we know that, we can say, aha, all right, now our Ethernet frame is going to be 2, the MAC address of the gateway, which is AABC, AABC, and now our Ethernet frame is ready to go. But we don't have any data in it yet. So now we need to put an IP packet inside our Ethernet frame. This is called encapsulation, yes? Our IP packet, so that's what this is, IP packet. That's the illegible name way not standing up here, sorry. This portion of it is an IP packet. It's encapsulated inside the Ethernet frame. It's going to say from my IP, which is 2222, to, where do I want this to go? I do not want it to go to the default gateway, and that's not who I'm trying to actually talk to. The end goal is to talk to this guy. Oh, yeah, not from, I'm thinking the wrong one. From 1111. Thank you. To, all right, so here's where we are. We have an Ethernet frame, which is addressed from this computer, addressed to the gateway, but it contains an IP packet addressed from this computer to the actual destination that we're trying to talk to. So the disconnect, if we look at this, is that the MAC address recipient does not match the IP address recipient. It's not the same machine. Does everybody see that? It's 2 different machines. All right, so this packet gets sent, the frame and everything gets sent, the gateway gets it, and it looks at it. Now, there's a file that lives under /proc. For those who don't know, the Linux file system exposes certain kernel configuration variables under this pseudo file system called /proc. One of the files in there, I don't remember the exact path. Net IPv4 sys something or whatever. One of the files in there is called IP_forward. So that's what I was trying to get to. So this is /proc /something. You can just use the find command and find it. IP_forward. By default, this file contains a 0. So in other words, IP forwarding is turned off. All that means is, if I get a frame that's addressed to me, of course I would get it because it's addressed to me. If I get a frame that's addressed to me, and the IP packet it contains is not addressed to me, I throw it away. That's all that means. Because it obviously wasn't addressed to me. Something went wrong. I'm going to toss it. If IP forward, on the other hand, is set to 1, then what I do is I go, oh, I am configured to forward IP packets. Now what I'm going to do is repeat this exact same process. I'm going to get it, I'm going to say, okay, this is addressed from 101.2.2.2.2 is 222 in my subnet. As it happens to be, in this case, yes. So then what I do is I rewrite the Ethernet frame to say it's from me, from the gateway. Now it's to this. I probably have to do an ARC broadcast to get this guy's MAC address. And then I forward him the IP packet. Now you see where this is going. If in fact this was not in the same subnet, if in fact the final destination was another hop further out, and this was yet another gateway, then each machine follows the same pattern. If it gets it, it says, is this addressed to me? No. All right, do I have a host route to the recipient? No. Do I have a network route to the recipient? No. Let me hand it to the default gateway. That's this rewriting of the Ethernet frame and keeping the IP packet inside consistent, and it just passes it along. Does that make sense? That's routing. That's all routing is. Everybody thinks you have to buy this big expensive Cisco thing. All that is this optimized in both hardware and code to do this really, really fast. That's all routing is. And so you get this, and ultimately this IP packet gets to the final destination. But what happens when it gets to the final destination is the 2 address on the Ethernet frame matches or agrees with the 2 address on the IP, meaning it's the machine has both the Ethernet address to which it was addressed and it has the IP address to which it was addressed, and that's the final destination. When it responds, it crafts the packet similarly, except it reverses the from and the to field, right? And then it looks at its routing table and says, do I have a host route? Nope. Do I have a network route? Nope. Do I have a default gateway? Let me hand it to the default gateway. And the default gateway then does the same process internally to hand it to the next hop and the next hop and so on. And the beauty of this is that you can hook it up with all kinds of loops and multiple routes, and it works because it's all the machine needs to know about is the next hop. It doesn't need to know anything beyond it. That is routing on the internet. It's somewhat anticlimactic, you know. Very complicated, but at the same time anticlimactic. All of the sort of complexity that we tend to associate with routing that comes with redundancy and multipath and picking the shortest path first and all this kind of stuff is just add-ons on top of this to make it more efficient or to make it more effective. But in a nutshell, to route, you really just need 3 machines. You plug them into each in a chain or with multiple switches or something, and you just say, hey, this one talks to this one, it forwards through this one, you get the it. That's why this file is turned off by default. If this was turned on by default, then everybody's machine would act as a gateway, and believe me, that would get used in about 2 seconds. So this gets us as far as how the IP, or how a packet addressed to an IP gets to the other end of the internet, as well as how the response gets back. And one final thing I want to touch on is I kept calling these hops. I called that for a specific reason. Every time your packet traverses through a router or a machine that's forwarding it, it's called a hop. Now, a while back, what's his name? Dan Brown, the novelist, wrote a book called Firewall. And it was pretty good. It was like, didn't require too much suspension of disbelief. And I was reading it, and they were talking about this big cybersecurity stuff. And it got to the point in the novel where they were talking about how the internet was full of these old packets that had been lost. And they were just going around and around endlessly, and somebody was writing, and I was like, all right, that's it, I'm done. I can't read it anymore. And if you look at the scenarios the way I've set it up, that's possible, because if we were to connect this like this, and there was something wrong, like the ultimate destination was over here and it had died, it wouldn't be possible if this machine tried to reach it, to put a packet in here, and this gateway would be like, well, here you go, and this gateway's like, I don't know what to do with it, here you go. And this one's like, I don't know what to do with it, here you go, right? You could have a loop. So to prevent that, there is something called a time to live that is set on the packet. Wait, is it called TTL? It is called TTL. I've been in DNS land for a while. I'm sorry, it's one word. Yeah, it's called a TTL. It is part of IP. And it is initialized, meaning it is set to a value of like 20, probably is a 24. Okay. It's set to, it kind of, I guess it depends on the OS, or the implementation, I suppose. I don't know. It's initialized to value 24, and every time this packet passes through a hop, that hop decrements the counter by 1. And when a hop receives a packet and the counter is equal to 1, it discards the packet. This is what prevents it from looping endlessly. So if you did have a loop, it would loop exactly what? 22 times. Because it's 24 here, it's now 23, then it's 22, then it's 21, then it's 20, then it's 19, then it's 18, right? And when it gets to 1, whoever has it throws it away. Now, by the way, just to briefly mention, there's another protocol that's part of this whole suite called ICMP, which is Internet Controlled Messaging Protocol. One of the things it serves to do is that when a packet expires in transit, an ICMP message is sent back to the sender saying the packet expired in transit. And if you care to look it up online, because I'm not going to explain it now, that's how traceroute works. Traceroute relies on the fact that ICMP sends back packet expired in transit messages. All traceroute is doing is sending out packets with gradually incrementing TTL, so it expires immediately on the first hop, and then it sends out one with a slightly higher TTL, so it expires on the next hop, thereby forcing each hop to reveal itself. That's traceroute. It's relying both on this routing and on the fact that when the packet expires in transit, the message is sent back. I think I should call it quits there. Like I said, we were going to go very far out of the weeds. And so next week, we want to answer the question of, okay, great, now we all understand how the request gets to the server at the far end of the internet, but that server that's at the far end of the internet is probably running email, it's probably running a web service, might be running a SQL service. How do I know when the packet gets there to which of those services it was addressed? Because I'm not talking to the server, I'm talking to the web server, I'm talking to the SQL server, right? How do I differentiate between services? That's where we will start next week, because that drags TCP and UDP into the discussion. All right, was all that accurate? Is there anything I missed that's sort of key? But, so does that make sense how the routing functions? If anybody's not clear on it, raise your hand. I want to make sure you're clear on it, because otherwise next week we'll be building on a very shaky foundation. Okay, is there anything that seems fuzzy or you want me to kind of expand on further or explain differently? Yes?
So obviously if there's kind of like 20 going on, so they all kind of have default gateways that eventually end up in the same place. It's the kind of thing where it says, okay, the things that are bigger, you can't go from this route or from this cryptic gateway. Is that how that works?
So the question was, if you have like a lot of these string together, but then maybe you have a fork in the path, so to speak. How does that work? So yes, if I had multiple gateways say hung off of this one, I would probably have network routes in here. So its routing table would have no host entries, but it would have specific network routes saying, for this one particular network, talk to this gateway. For this other network, talk to this other gateway. So that's how you can kind of bifurcate or split it. Otherwise, at the end of the day, it's just one default gateway talking to another default gateway talking to another default gateway, which you're right is very linear. And so the way it kind of splits is that if Bill had a network that was I don't know 8.8.8.8 slash something, then I could on my gateway say for Bill's network of 8.8.8 specifically talk to his gateway, but for everybody else talk to this gateway. So that's how you can kind of carve it off. And so we'll talk about this in more detail next week, but that's kind of how the different providers sort of talk. Like AT&T essentially has an entry in their big master routing table saying to talk to Sprint's IPs, go over here. To talk to T-Mobile's, go here. That's kind of how it's, and so the internet's not linear. It's basically like a star topology with multiple arms touching in all these different places. And each one just has knowledge of, for this network, here's who you talk to. For this other network, you talk over here. Does that make sense? But at the end of the day, it's still just entries in the router table, which is with varying degrees of specificity. Yes?
So, this IPv6 process pretty much thing.
Yep. So everything I've covered so far translates exactly to IPv6, with the exception of that the IP addresses are obviously much longer. IPv4 is 32 bits.
Yes.
IPv6 is 128 bits. So if you were to write it out in binary, it's much longer, which is the whole point. So there's more addresses, but it's the whole gateway, the hops, the TTL, the way IP works, ARP broadcasts, all that's the same. Yeah.
Right now the value is 24. If it adopts each time, it gets the email.
Right.
How does it make sure it doesn't fall to one reach the destination?
If it gets received on the machine, on
Can
the
you repeat
final
the question?
machine, with a value of 1, but the Ethernet frame is addressed to that machine and the IP address is addressed to that machine, the machine will act on it. It won't throw it out. It's only if you go to forward it and the value is 1, do you throw it out. So in other words, if the destination is, if the final hop, which is the destination, happens to be 24 hops from the start, it's okay, we get there. If it was 25 hops, then the preceding gateway would go out. Yeah. Some implementations will forward it even at 1. They only throw it out if it's 0. But if you think about that, that makes no sense, because you would decrement it to 0, pass it off, and for sure the next guy's going to throw it away. Most implementations since like SunOS 5.6, I think, discard the package into TTL releases 1 unless the package is addressed to that machine. Okay, any other questions? All right, excellent. Thank you guys so much for coming out tonight, and hopefully you go home and sleep extremely well after this.